The phone buzzed like a hornet in my pocket, shattering the quiet hum of the campus library where I'd been hiding from the world. Alex's name flashed on the screen, his voice crackling through with that easy, oblivious charm. Dude. Tyler. My room's a disaster zone. Help a brother out. Beers after. My heart slammed against my ribs. A traitor pounding out the truth I buried deep. How one simple favor could unravel everything I'd spent years stitching together in secret. I typed back yes before my brain could scream no. Because saying no to Alex had never been an option. Not since the day we met under that relentless Midwest sun. We'd been inseparable since freshman orientation at the University of Michigan. Back when Ann Arbor's autumn leaves painted the world in fiery reds and golds that matched the fire in my chest every time he laughed. Alex Hargrove, star of the lacrosse team, with his broad shoulders and that crooked grin that could disarm a room full of skeptics. Straight as an arrow. Or so everyone thought, including him. Probably. He dated cheerleaders and sorority girls like it was his birthright. While I, Tyler Ellis, nursed crushes in the shadows, content with stolen glances in the locker room and late-night texts that meant nothing to him, but everything to me. I was the quiet one. The art major with paint-stained fingers and a sketchbook full of faces that looked suspiciously like his. Gay, but closeted tighter than a winter coat in July. Because in our sleepy suburb of Detroit, coming out wasn't a revelation, it was a reckoning. That Saturday afternoon, I pushed open the door to his off-campus apartment. The air thick with the stale scent of takeout boxes and unwashed socks. Sunlight slanted through the blinds like accusatory fingers, highlighting the chaos, clothes piled on every surface. Empty beer cans forming precarious towers on the nightstand. And his beta king-sized beast that dominated the room looking like it had been through a tornado. Alex was shirtless. Of course. Sweat glistening on his chest from the half-hearted effort he'd already abandoned. His jeans slung low on his hips. Ty. My man. He boomed, clapping me on the back hard enough to jolt the air from my lungs. His touch lingered a beat too long. Or maybe that was just my imagination starving for scraps. You're a lifesaver. This place is embarrassing. Coach would kill me if he saw it. I forced a laugh, dropping my backpack by the door and rolling up my sleeves, trying to ignore how the room felt smaller with both of us in it. Like the walls were closing in on all the words I couldn't say. Yeah. Well, you've got that game next week. Can't have you fumbling because you're tripping over your own boxers. We dove in. The rhythm familiar, sorting. Him tossing. Banter flying like old times. But today, there was an undercurrent. A subtle shift I couldn't place. Alex seemed edgier. His jokes landing with a forced edge. His eyes darting to mine more often than usual. As we hauled boxes from under the bed, dust bunnies exploded into the air. And he coughed, waving it away. God, I need to get my life together. Girlfriend number 3 bailed last month. Said I was too messy. Can you believe that? I paused, a faded high school jersey in my hands. The one he'd worn when we won state together. Messy how? Like the room or... You know. My voice was casual. But inside, my pulse thrummed. Alex had always been the golden boy. But lately, cracks had shown nights out that ended early. A hollow ring to his boasts about hookups. He flopped onto the edge of the bed, the mattress dipping under his weight, and ran a hand through his damp hair. Both, I guess. Feels like nothing sticks. Like I'm just going through the motions. His eyes met mine, raw and unguarded. And for a split second, the room tilted. I sat beside him, close enough to feel the heat radiating off his skin, the faint scent of his cologne mixing with sweat. Hey, you're Alex freaking Hargrove. You'll figure it out. He turned then, his knee brushing mine, and the contact sent a jolt straight to my core. What about you, Ty? Always so put together. Got your eye on anyone? The question hung there, innocent on the surface, but laced with something heavier. I swallowed, my mouth dry as sandpaper. Nah, just focusing on finals. Art show's coming up. A lie. Because the only canvas I wanted to paint was him strokes of midnight blue for his eyes, crimson for the flush on his cheeks right now. We lapsed into silence, the kind that amplifies heartbeats. And then he nudged me with his shoulder. Liar. I see how you look at people. Spill. Before I could deflect, he grabbed a pillow and chucked it at me, breaking the tension with a grin that didn't reach his eyes. We wrestled half-heartedly, the bed becoming our battlefield, limbs tangling in a mess of laundry we'd forgotten to fold. His laugh rumbled low in his chest as he pinned me down, his body heavy and warm over mine, face inches away. Time fractured his breath, ghosting my lips, the world narrowing to the press of his hips against my thigh. Gotcha, he murmured, voice husky, and I swear his gaze dropped to my mouth. My body betrayed me, heat pooling low, and I froze, waiting for the punchline, the shove off, the return to normal. But he didn't move. Our eyes locked, and in that endless second, I saw a flicker of confusion, curiosity, fear. His hand, still braced on my shoulder, trembled just a fraction. Ty, he whispered, like my name was a question he hadn't meant to ask. The air thickened, charged with the weight of all the unspoken years. And then, as if pulled by gravity, his lips brushed mine. Soft at first, tentative, a question wrapped in warmth. My brain short-circuited. This wasn't happening. Couldn't be, but my hands fisted in his hair, pulling him closer. And the kiss deepened, hungry and desperate, tasting of salt and secrets long overdue. When we broke apart, gasping, the room spun back into focus. Alex's face was a storm eyes wide, cheeks burning, but he didn't pull away. What the hell was that? He rasped. Not angry, just wrecked. I sat up, heart hammering like it wanted out of my chest. I don't know, but it felt right. Lies and truths tangled on my tongue. The biggest one clawing its way up. I love you. Have always loved you. And this might destroy us both. He raked a hand over his face, standing abruptly, pacing the narrow strip of floor. I'm not. I mean, girls. That's my thing. But you should. Ty, you're my best friend. This can't. The words died as he looked at me. Really looked. And something shifted in his eyes' resignation. Maybe. Or the dawn of understanding. Under the sheets, he said softly, echoing the chaos we'd stirred up without touching a single dust mote. We were supposed to clean. A broken laugh escaped him, and I joined in. The sound brittle but real. A bridge over the chasm we'd just cracked open. That night, with the room still a wreck and the beers forgotten on the counter, we talked until the sky lightened outside. Not about labels or what-ifs, but about the loneliness we'd both carried, masked by bravado and silence. Alex confessed the doubts that had gnawed at him since high school, the hookups that left him emptier, the way my presence had always felt like home. I told him about the sketches, the nights I'd lain awake imagining this exact unraveling. By dawn, we'd crossed a line, bodies entwined under those same rumpled sheets. Exploration tentative and reverent, like mapping uncharted stars. It wasn't fireworks or perfection, just two scared kids fumbling toward truth. His hands learning the curve of my back, my lips tracing the scars on his knuckles from too many fights won. But as the sun crested, reality seeped in like cold water. What now? He murmured against my neck, voice thick with sleep and dread. I didn't have an answer, only the fierce ache of knowing we'd changed everything and nothing at all. The weeks that followed blurred into a fever dream of stolen moments and shadowed fears. On campus, we played our parts, Alex high-fiving bros after practice, me blending into the art crowd with my easel and quiet smiles. But in his apartment, away from prying eyes, we built something fragile and fierce. Kisses that started playful and ended breathless. Hands wandering further each time. Bodies sinking in ways that erased the word straight from his vocabulary. He was a quick study, eager and attentive, whispering my name like a prayer as we moved together. Slow and unhurried. The world outside fading to irrelevance. This is you and me, he'd say, fingers laced with mine, as if repetition could ward off the storm brewing. But storms don't care about wishes. It started smell a teammate catching the way Alex's gaze lingered on me during a pickup game. A smirk and a whispered, "You two are weirdly close." Man. Alex brushed it off with a laugh. But I saw the tension coil in his jaw, the way he'd pull back in public. Our touches reduced to accidental brushes that left me starving. At home, over family dinners via video call, his mom's cheerful probes about that nice girl from psych class made him flinch, his eyes flicking to mine off-screen in silent apology. I understood. My own parents, devout Catholics in our Detroit suburb, had never known the half of it. Coming out. It wasn't an option, it was exile. Then came the party. The kind that lit up frat row like a bonfire of bad decisions. Alex dragged me along, insisting it was just to blow off steam. But I saw the wildness in his eyes, the need to prove something to himself, to the world. The bass thumped through my veins as we wove through bodies slick with sweat and spilled beer. Co-eds in tiny dresses grinding against anyone who moved. Alex downed shots like water, his arm slung around some blonde's waist. Laughing too loud, too long. Jealousy twisted in my gut, sharp as glass. But I played it cool, nursing a soda in the corner, sketching faces in my mind to keep from shattering. He found me later, the girl forgotten, his breath hot with liquor as he pulled me into a shadowed hallway. "Ty, I can't do this," he slurred, pressing me against the wall, lips crashing into mine with a desperation that bordered on violence. We were reckless, hands fumbling under shirts, the risk electric and terrifying. But voices echoed down the hall as teammates. Rowdy and close, and he jerked back, eyes wide with panic. Shit. We gotta go. We slipped out the back, hearts racing. The night air a slap of sobriety. In his truck, parked under a street lamp's harsh glow, he gripped the wheel until his knuckles whitened. What if they find out? My scholarship. The team, everything I've built. I reached for him, thumb tracing his jaw. And what about us? What we're building? The question hung heavy. And for the first time, doubt flickered in his eyes, not about me, but about the walls he'd erected around his heart. We drove in silence, the miles between Detroit and Ann Arbor stretching like the distance between who we were and who we could be. That night, under the sheets again, our lovemaking was different, urgent, laced with the fear of loss, bodies clinging as if touch could anchor us against the tide. He traced patterns on my skin, whispering apologies and promises. But sleep evaded me, the what-ifs circling like vultures. The unraveling accelerated when Coach called Alex in after practice. Rumors. He said nothing concrete. But keep your head down. Hargrove. Distractions lose games. Alex stormed into my studio that evening, face thunderous, slamming the door so hard my brushes rattled. They think I'm screwing around with some dude. Because of us. Because I looked at you wrong. His voice cracked, and he paced like a caged animal, muscles taut under his hoodie. I stood, arms open, and he collapsed into them, the fight draining out as sobs racked his frame. I can't lose this. Ty. Lacrosse is all I have. You have me, I whispered, holding him tighter, my own tears burning hot. We sank to the floor amid paint tubes and canvas scraps, his head in my lap as I stroked his hair, murmuring nonsense about stars and second chances. In that vulnerability, he opened up fully the pressure from his dad, a former player who'd pinned all his dreams on Alex. The internalized shame from locker room jokes that cut deeper than they should. The terror of being the gay kid in a town where rainbows were for parades, not people. I shared my own scars, the rejection from a high school crush who'd called me a freak, the isolation of loving in silence. We're not broken, I said finally, as his breathing evened. We're just rewriting the rules. But rules have teeth. The next day, a photo surfaced anonymously emailed to the team group chat, us in that hallway. Blurred but unmistakable. My hand on his neck. His body arched toward mine. The backlash was swift and savage. Text exploded. WTF Hargrove. Fag alert. Alex's phone became a minefield, and he shut it off, hurling it across the room where it cracked against the wall. It's over, he said, voice hollow, packing a duffel with mechanical precision. I gotta go home. Talk to Dad. Fix this. Fix us. He meant. But the words hung unspoken. A guillotine blade. I drove him to the Greyhound station at midnight, rain lashing the windshield like accusations. The lot was empty, save for us, the bus idling like a beast ready to swallow him whole. Don't, I begged, grabbing his arm as he stepped down. Stay? We face it together. His eyes, red-rimmed and stormy, searched mine. I love you. Ty. God. I do. But I can't. Not yet. The kiss he gave me was goodbye wrapped in fire desperate. Tasting of salt and regret before he pulled away. Boarding without looking back. The bus doors hissed shut. Taillights fading into the downpour. And I stood there. Soaked and shattered. The hole in my chest echoing with the roar of what might have been. Days bled into weeks. A gray haze of classes I barely attended. Sketches turning dark and abstract. Strokes of black for the void he'd left. Friends noticed, "You okay? Man." But I waved them off. Burying myself in the upcoming art show. Channeling the ache into canvas after canvas of tangled limbs and shadowed faces. Alex's silence was a knife. Twisting deeper with each unanswered text. Each ignored call. Whispers followed me on campus. The gay artist. The one who'd turned the lacrosse star. Hate mail slipped under my door slurs scrawled in marker. Threats veiled in concern. I deleted them all. But they festered. Eroding the fragile peace I'd clung to. Then, the call came at 3 a.m. His voice a wreck over the line. Ty. I'm sorry. I told them. Dad flipped. Threw me out. Said I wasn't his son anymore. Sobs choked him. And my heart fractured anew. Where are you? He was at a motel off I-94. 30 miles out. Voice muffled by tears. I didn't think. Just grabbed my keys and drove through the night. Wipers battling the relentless rain. He looked smaller when I found him. Duffel at his feet. Eyes hollowed by exhaustion. No words, just my arms around him. Pulling him into the truck. The drive back a silent vigil. We crashed in my tiny apartment. Bodies spooned for warmth against the chill seeping through cracked windows. Morning brought fragile honesty over burnt coffee, his father's rage. The disownment that severed years of expectations. The team's fracture. Half standing by him in quiet solidarity. The rest spewing venom online. I chose you. He said simply. Hand over mine on the table. Over everything. Because losing you. That's not living. Tears welled. But so did Resolvia's spark igniting in the ruins. Rebuilding wasn't linear. Therapy sessions via campus health. Awkward at first, but cathartic. Peeling back layers of shame we'd both worn like armor. Alex quit the team. The weight lifting even as grief tugged. He picked up a job at the local coffee shop. Trading cleats for aprons. His laugh returning in fits and starts. Publicly. We tiptoed handholds in hidden parks. Dates at midnight diners where no one knew our names. But privately. We bloomed, lazy Sundays tangled in sheets that finally felt clean. Not just of dust, but of pretense. Whispered I love yous that anchored us through the backlash. The art show arrived like a reckoning. My pieces laid bare under gallery lights, portraits of us. Abstracted but intimate. Bodies intertwined in hues of vulnerability and fire. Alex stood beside me as the crowd murmured. His hand brushing mine in full view. A quiet declaration. A critic approached. Eyes sharp, raw. Personal. Who's the muse? Alex grinned. Squeezing my fingers. The love of my life. Gasps rippled. But so did nods. A ripple of acceptance in an arbor's progressive undercurrent. Not everyone applauded. Protests brewed back home as Dad, leading a small rally against campus indoctrination. Headlines twisting our story into a cautionary tale. Hate mail surged. Voices from our past demanding we choose normal. But we stood firm. Alex penning a letter to his father. Unread but released, "You raised a fighter. Now watch me fight for truth." It went viral. Unexpectedly. Shares from allies amplifying our voices in a chorus of queer resilience. Months later, under a Detroit sky bruised with summer storm clouds, we returned not as boys fleeing, but men claiming space. His dad's house loomed, porch light flickering like a hesitant beacon. Alex knocked, me at his side, and when the door cracked open, the man's face crumpled not in fury, but defeat. Words tumbled, apologies choked with regret. A halting, "I was wrong." Scared. No instant forgiveness, but a crack in the door, wide enough for tentative steps dinners. Calls. The slow thaw of a family fractured but mending. We moved in together that fall. A cramped loft above the coffee shop. Walls echoing with laughter and late-night confessions. Under those sheets now ours. Laundered and loved, we found not just passion, but partnership, arguments over dishes dissolving into kisses. Dreams shared in the quiet hours. Alex discovered photography, his lens capturing the beauty in everyday queerness. I painted murals for local centers. Strokes of hope for kids like us. One evening, as snow dusted the windows, he pulled me close, breath warm against my ear. "Remember that day? The room. The mess." I nodded, smiling into his neck. "Best mess ever." He chuckled. "Low in content. We didn't clean a thing. But damn, we uncovered everything." And in that uncovering, we found not just each other, but ourselves whole, unapologetic, loved. In a world that still sharpened its claws, we'd carved our space, sheet by tangled sheet, proving that from chaos comes the truest kind of clean. The first real test came not from outside, but within those insidious doubts that whisper in the dead of night. Alex woke me one evening, sweat-slicked and shaking, murmuring about dreams where he lost it all again. What if I'm not enough for you, for this life? I held him, tracing the lines of his face in the moonlight filtering through our loft skylight. "You're everything," I said, voice steady despite the fear echoing his own. We talked until dawn, unraveling the threads of his past, the macho rituals drilled into him since Pee Wee leagues. The fear of softness mistaken for weakness. It was messy, tears mixing with laughter as we recalled that first fumbling night. How his hands had trembled not from nerves, but from the thrill of finally touching truth. We sought out community, stumbling into a queer support group at the campus center. A circle of faces etched with similar stories. There, Alex found brothers not in cleats, but in shared scars, men who'd walked the same tightrope between worlds. One night, after a particularly raw share, he turned to me in the parking lot, eyes shining. "I'm not alone anymore. We aren't." The validation was a balm, easing the isolation that had clung like fog. I watched him grow, his posture straightening not from pride parades, but from the quiet power of being seen. Spring brought renewal. Cherry blossoms unfurling along the Huron River as we planned our first real trip, just us. No hiding, We drove south to Chicago. Windows down. His hand on my thigh as indie rock blasted from the speakers. The city pulsed with possibility, hand-in-hand strolls through Millennium Park. Stolen kisses under the bean's mirrored curve. Dinners where waiters didn't blink at our intertwined fingers. But freedom has edges. A group of teens jeered from across the street. Slurs slicing the air. Alex tensed, fists clenching. But I squeezed his hand. Let them. We're here. He exhaled, nodding. The moment a microcosm of our journey confronting hate, not with fists, but with unyielding presence. Back home, tensions simmered with his family. His mom, ever the bridge, invited us for Easter. Her voice tentative over the phone. Just come as you are. The drive was fraught. Alex white-knuckled on the wheel, rehearsing speeches in his head. His dad waited on the porch, arms crossed. But when Alex stepped out, introduction on his lips, this is Tyler. My partner, the man unfolded, pulling him into a hug that lingered. No fanfare. Just a gruff, missed you, son. Dinner was awkward. Silences punctuated by his siblings' curious glances. But questions came gently. How'd you meet? We shared the story. Sanitized, but true the room. The sheets. The spark. Laughter broke the ice when Alex quipped. He saved my ass from squalor. And his dad's chuckle rumbled like distant thunder clearing. Not all bridges held. My own family remained a chasm. A stilted call to my parents ended in tears when I mustered the courage. Mom. Dad. I'm gay. And happy. Silence stretched. Then my father's voice. Strained, we love you, son. But this. Pray on it. No rejection, but no embracia limbo that stung. Alex held me that night, his steadiness a counterweight. We'll build our own family, he promised. And we did, game nights with group friends. Adopting a scruffy rescue dog named Scout who curled between us like a furry chaperone. Summer deepened our roots. Alex's photos gained traction. A local exhibit featuring shots of queer couples in everyday glory laundry lines strung with pride flags. Coffee mugs steaming on shared tables. Critics praised the authenticity. And sales funded our first big purchase, a ring set. Simple bands engraved with uncleaned and unbroken. No ceremony. Just vows whispered on a blanket by the river at sunset. Scout as witness. I choose you. Every messy day, he said, sliding the band on my finger, tears tracking down his cheeks. I echoed it, heart full to bursting. The water's murmur, our only applause. Yet life tests the forged. Fall brought Alex a job offer assistant coach at a rival school. A step back, but stable. Doubt crept in. What if they dig up the past? We waited together. Pros scrawled on one page. Fears on another. In the end, he took it. Conditions clear, authenticity first. The first practice was electriche coached with the same fire, but now laced with openness. Pulling aside a nervous freshman with a quiet hey. Be you out there. Rest follows. Word spread. And soon, kids lingered after. Questions tumbling. Coach, are you? His nod, simple and sure, shifted something a locker room less toxic. Bonds forged in truth. For me, the mural project expanded, walls in Detroit's Cass corridor. Vibrant tales of resilience figures emerging from shadows. Hands clasped across divides. Alex documented it. His lens capturing the community's pulse, elders sharing stories of Stonewall echoes. Youth painting rainbows over graffiti scars. One panel. Our story abstracted a cluttered room. Sheets billowing like sails drew crowds. Fingers tracing the lines as if touching hope. Winter's chill-tested endurance. A flu swept through, sidelining us both. Days blurred in fevered haze. We nursed each other broth spooned in bed. Bad movies for distraction emerging closer. The illness stripping pretenses. This is forever, he murmured one night. Forehead to mine. And I believed it. Bone deep. As spring circled back, we hosted our first holiday Thanksgiving for the found family. Table groaning under mismatched dishes. Laughter filled the loft. Toasts raised to survival. To love that bends, but doesn't break. His dad came. Tentative. Carving the turkey with shaking hands. My parents sent a card. Words warming, proud of you. Tyler. Progress. Inch by inch. Under the sheets that night. With the city humming below. Alex traced my tattoo's new ink of a lacrosse stick crossed with a paintbrush. From mess to this, he said softly. I smiled, pulling him closer. Best plot twist ever. And in the quiet, with his heartbeat sinking mine, I knew we'd cleaned nothing that day, but we'd swept away illusions, leaving room for a life unbound draw. Real and radiantly ours. The years wove forward. Threads of challenge and joy intertwining like vines claiming a trellis. Alex's coaching career bloomed. He led that team to regionals. His methods fierce, yet inclusive, earning quiet legends. Whispers of the gay coach who gets it drew recruits from afar. Kids seeking not just wins, but wings. One evening, post-victory, a parent cornered him. You saved my boy. He was lost. Like I was. Alex's eyes met mine across the field. Gratitude unspoken, but profound. My art evolved 2 galleries in Chicago. Then New York. Canvases commanding prices that funded expansions, a studio space for queer youth. Workshops where brushes became bridges. Alex tagged along to openings. His presence a talisman. Snapping candids that captured the chaos of creation. You're magic, he'd say. And I'd laugh. Pulling him into supply closets for kisses that tasted of turpentine and triumph. But scars ache in storms. A call from Detroit shattered a lazy Sunday. His dad. Heart attack. Critical. We raced back. The drive a blur of what-ifs. In the sterile hospital hall, his mother clung to us, whispering prayers. When his dad woke, tubes snaking, his first words rasped to Alex, proud of the man you are. Forgiveness flowed then, messy and miraculous. Bedside vigils turning to shared stories, old game tapes. Faded photos. He met me properly. Grip firm, take care of him. Tyler. He's my world. We did. Through recovery and beyond. Holidays now full. The table a mosaic of mended hearts. My parents' thaw was slower. A letter arriving unannounced. We've been reading. Learning. Come home. The visit was tentative, awkward hugs. Questions laced with care, but seeds sprouted. My mom. Ever the gardener. Slipped me a book on allies. Her smile shy. Love's love. Son. Dad nodded over pie. Just. Be happy. Enough. For now. We traveled more road trips to national parks. Tents pitched under starfields where labels dissolved into firelight and whispers. In Yellowstone, amid geysers' roar, Alex proposed properly, not with rings we'd already worn, but vows renewed every lifetime. Tie. Mess and all. Tears mixed with steam as I said yes. The earth rumbling approval. Anniversaries marked milestones. 5 years in a house with a yard for scout successors. Walls hung with our joint exhibit photos entwined with paintings. A visual love letter. 10 brought adoption papers. A little boy with Alex's grin and my quiet curiosity, teaching us patience amid tantrums and triumphs. Through it all, those sheets remained upgraded to Egyptian cotton, but carrying the same ghosts of beginnings. We'd collapse into them after long days, bodies fitting like puzzle pieces worn smooth. Still uncleaned. He'd tease, nuzzling my neck. And still perfect. I'd reply, the word's a mantra. In the end, our story wasn't a fairy tale, no dragon slaying. Just everyday battles won with grit and grace. We proved that under the mess, love waits not to clean, but to claim. And in claiming it, we lit paths for others. One tangled thread added to me a testament that from straight lines and hidden curves, the most beautiful lives emerge.